Hi, this is Lisa McManus from America's Test Kitchen Gearheads, here to answer a couple of your questions that were raised in the comments about our rice cooker versus saucepan video. Let's see, the first one was about the Aroma rice cooker. Someone asked that they checked the Amazon link and it showed some percentage of buyers saying it stopped working after a few months. I would like to hear an update from ATK about the reliability of their unit. Well, we have about 10 or 15 of these at the test kitchen, and we've been using them for years. Um, we found them pretty reliable. We buy the products that we test, and if it wins a testing, we will buy it and stock it in the test kitchen and take out the previous winner, and we use it every day. So we really have had a good experience with this one. We have seen those reports. It is a little concerning, and we are planning to do a new testing of rice cookers in the coming year. But we are so far pretty happy with this one, and at the price and the reliability that we've experienced, we still recommend it. I would love to hear your opinions on why we wash the starch off the rice. Isn't the whole thing made out of starch? I wonder if the only difference that pre-washing makes is moistening the rice before cooking it. Well, as I understand it, I mean, yes, rice is a starch, but when they're polishing the hull off the rice, it creates a lot of dust, and that dust of the rice itself makes a sort of a pasty starch around the kernels of the rice. And so you want to get that off if you want the rice not to be quite as gummy. It's also a cleaning process. You are trying to rinse it just as you rinse dried beans before cooking them. You want to make sure that they're as clean as they can be. Um, you don't have to go crazy with this, as I said in the video. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want some of that white, starchy exterior, loose starch in the rice to come away. And I swear, even sticky rice is still sticky. That's part of the starch that's built into the grains that makes it sticky, as opposed to rices like basmati that are very separate. They have actual different starches in the rice themselves. So it's not going to make your rice behave completely differently, but it will make it less gummy. And yes, it does moisten the rice. I think that it does start the process a little bit, and so although it's a couple of seconds really that you're rinsing it before you cook, so I don't think it makes a ton of difference in that respect. Okay, how does a $30 rice cooker, the Aroma, win against the Ferrari of rice cooker, the Zojirushi? Well, it was by a nose. The Zojirushi Neurofuzzy was also in the testing. It came in second. It's also recommended by us. We love it. It costs quite a bit more, and I think that is a barrier for people who haven't had rice cookers before, to suddenly invest a couple of $100s in a rice cooker. If you have, and maybe you're not in that place where you can spend that, but you can certainly spend a lot less on the Aroma and get very good rice. And one of the things that we really were surprised by is that we made the same rice in all the cookers using the same water and everything else. And we did a blind taste test of the rice in the course of our testing. And the Aroma rice was a little bit better than the Zojirushi, which was stunning to me. I was a little bit kind of leaning toward the Zojirushi. So yeah, it actually did well. Um, that said, we also recommend the Zojirushi. It came in second, very close behind. And, we're not just saying only buy our winner, but we were doing a demonstration of rice cooker versus saucepan. So we didn't have our full line up there. We focused on the winner. Okay, last question. I would like to know if the ratio 1 measure of rice to 1.5 measures of water is the same for all kinds of rice cooked in the rice cooker. Um, Actually, in a saucepan, we actually do mostly prefer 1 cup of rice to 1.5 cups of water, or that 1 to 1.5 ratio. Um, the rice cooker is a little more particular, as we pointed out. They have a measuring cup in there. You use that to measure the dry rice, and then you put it in the pot and you fill it to the line of the number of cups that you've put in. So I don't remember if we've ever pulled it apart to see how much water that is, but especially if you've rinsed the rice, there's some water in it, and the rice itself weighs it down. So when they figured it out so that when you add the rice, the dry rice, or the moistened rice, and then fill to the line of the number of cups you put in, that's the right ratio inside the rice cooker. It's magic? No. But I don't remember if we've ever pulled apart that amount and said, is it 1 to 1.5? But in a saucepan, we have found that 1 to 1.5 generally works for long grain white rice. Um, and oftentimes it works better than package directions, which sometimes we find have you put too much water in. Anyway, long way around to say it's not necessarily the same, but we did find for long grain white rice that it was 1 to 1.5 that worked pretty well with our winning white rice. Um, and I hope that's helpful. If you have other questions, put them in the comments and we'll try to get back to you. And thanks for watching.